What's up, guys? This is Red Devil Ace, and yesterday, well, it's been about a few hours since I've seen Godzilla minus one, and I just want to make a review video on it because I made a video last time about saying either Toho or Ledger, which Godzilla's gonna be the best one, and all this other stuff. So I wanted to touch upon that and just give my overall thoughts about the movie, if anyone cares. So right off the bat, if I were to give this movie a 1 out of 10 rating, honestly, 13 out of fucking 10. Like, it had a $15 million budget, which most people say it's a pretty cheap budget, but they pulled out all the stops of this movie. So, as you guys may know, and if you're a Godzilla fan, you already know, but just for me to reiterate, the movie takes place post World War II Japan, and basically just the overall loss of the war. Tokyo and the rest of Japan has been in ruin, and then they just put another kaiju-sized atomic cherry on top in the form of possibly the best, one of the best Japanese Godzillas I have ever seen in my life. So, and also if you don't want to hear spoilers, then click away this video now. So the movie starts off with I think his name is Shikishima, who is going to be the main character of the movie that went to Odo Island because he obviously was afraid of the war, and he was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot. He did not want to get involved in any of that shit. So the dude bailed out from the war, which, ironically, if I was in his shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. Because World War II, if anyone cracked open their history books or just dusted them off recently, anyone would know that World War II was the war of all wars. It was all the way bad all over the world. So he did the right thing getting the fuck out of Dodge. But then the mechanics there on Odo Island knew that he bailed out, so he felt ashamed of it. But then you see these weird ass fish coming out of the ground. They're supposed to be deep sea fish. And then, right the hell out of nowhere, Godzilla just goes stomping through the entire base of almost everybody died except for the main character and I think a few other survivors. And then it just cuts to how Tokyo looks like after the war. Destroyed buildings all over the place. People's lives have been changed forever. So much chaos. And another thing I want to touch on, comparing 1940s Japan to Japan in the midst of the 2000s, the Japanese are incredibly innovative people. And long story short, I mean, the main character finds out that his parents passed away due to the air raids and like all this other stuff that I don't really want to touch on. And he runs into this woman carrying a baby that's not even hers. So he kind of, I guess I should say takes pity on them or feels bad for them. So they move in together into his shambles of a home. They moved in together. They've been living together for a few years. They raised the baby together, and this dude is a fucking douchebag for saying that. Like, the girl Akiko is just learning to speak, and calls him daddy for the first time. Not in a sexual way. Get your fucking minds out of the gutter. Like the girl calls the main character his father and her father, and this fucking asshole said like,
Don't call me your father. I'm not even related to you.
and almost everyone in that movie theater was kind of cursing the guy out because I heard people whispering like, "You motherfucker, you're such a douchebag, you're an asshole," and all this other stuff. And honestly, I wanted to grab him by the collar through the theater screen and punch him directly in the face. And then the girl he moved in with finds office job in the Ginza district, and this and also the main character got a job take like destroying old mines from the war. And Godzilla, oh Jesus Christ. And I thought Shin Godzilla was terrifying. Even though the Godzilla minus one Godzilla can't, unhinge his jaw or do a Naruto move or shoot lasers out of his spine, this dude is fucking terrifying. Because comparing Shin Godzilla to Godzilla Minus One, they're both incredible movies, no doubt about that. But in Shin Godzilla, you get footage of Godzilla, a good amount of it, but it mostly centers around the people and the Japanese trying to content with Godzilla, try to figure out ways to destroy it and all this other stuff. So it mostly focuses on the people. And in Godzilla Minus One, it focuses a lot more on Godzilla this time around. And also the camera shots between both movies are incredibly different. Like Shin Godzilla had good cinematography, but you catch the kaiju on these weird angles, and almost every time you see Godzilla, like the camera angle is always spaced out, so you never really get to see him up close for most of the movie. And in Godzilla Minus One, his face is all up in the shot. You get to see him for all of his glory. And if people say, like, and I know there's been some movies where the lore is that Godzilla was formed from the effects of the atomic bombs, they dropped them shits on top of Godzilla, and they didn't even do shit to him. Because I think I remember I mentioned this in my last video that you might see Godzilla with battle scars across his face because of the atomic bombs. Yeah, I was kind of wrong about that. Because one thing that kind of supports this, that Shikishima runs into Godzilla again, but this time on the job in a leaky ass wooden boat, and with the back of the boat full of these mines, he ends up using the mines against Godzilla because why the fuck would you not? Mine ends up getting close to Godzilla. He blows that bitch up. Half of his face is absolutely blasted off. Like, you see parts of his brain, his jaw's kind of been dangling off the side off the piece of his head. You see that some bitch regenerate. And it's like if Deadpool got a sniper shot straight through the skull, and you see that come together. That's basically the same thing that Godzilla did. And then you see and then there's like these warships that go up against Godzilla. They get destroyed all to hell because, I mean, obviously, because what the fuck are 1940s warships gonna do to this giant monster? And another thing I want to touch on is the atomic breath. Now, a lot of people, or at least I've seen the way Godzilla atomic breath changed throughout the years. Like, all you see is just this small to semi-big heat ray just blast everything. Like, of course, like tearing apart buildings and just blasting vehicles all to shit. This atomic breath was the first one that actually definitively packed a punch, because not only is the atomic breath such a slow and dramatic startup, just okay, the best way I can explain this, okay, say this is a building, and the atomic breath shoots through it. It doesn't really damage it because it's not really the focus on impact. Because if it does come in contact with the atomic breath, it destroys the building. But this atomic breath, just a building being near it, it just completely vaporizes any buildings close to it. And the first time he used his atomic breath was in the ocean. You never really get to see much other than the entire water turning blue, and just him shoots up just this one snippet of an atomic breath, completely blows up the entire warship, and it looks like an atomic bomb dropped. And then once it rampages through Tokyo, you see it again. The chaos was absolutely out of this world. Like, everything got destroyed, buildings toppled everywhere, and the atomic breath didn't even touch them or even go near them. Just the pure shockwave of the atomic breath completely destroyed all of Tokyo. And this is why I would consider this to be the best Godzilla movie of all time, because almost all the movies, they had some smart way to go about it into destroying Godzilla. And okay, don't get me wrong, this had the ending of the movie was a smart way to deal with them, but just if you can just take in the entire setting of the movie, post World War II, everything has gone to hell, and they just started rebuilding their lives because the movie has I mean, from the trailers you can pretty much expect like, oh, like like Tokyo already went to shit, so Godzilla's just stomping through it. You you get time to get to know these people, these characters, and what they're going through and how they're trying to get some semblance of normality back to Tokyo, and you just see Godzilla just make an absolute mess of everything worse than the what the United Nations did to Japan. And like the more you get to know these characters, and a few characters that had a lot of screen time end up getting, axed off, I shed a tear through a good few parts of the movie. And that's hard for someone like me to do because when it comes to like live action movies, I do not give a shit. Like, of course, I feel bad when it comes to some movies, but I've never ever shed a tear for anything except for anime movies and anime shows. And the fact that Toho got that much emotion out of me is doing something right. And just basically, all towards the end, they hatched this entire plan of all the Japanese working together, and this just shows how innovative and how imaginative the Japanese are when it comes to tackling these problems, especially when it comes to Godzilla. Like, and then again, you'd be wondering, like, what if the Japanese got some outside help, the way the Japanese did in Shin Godzilla? Basically, they explained in the movie that the only reason that the Japanese were on their own when it comes to the Big G is because the US were afraid that if they sent something to Japan, then Russia would probably counterattack. So, not only did they have to deal with Russia and the US going at each other, and Japan was right dead center in the middle of it, they also had to deal with Godzilla as well. And I was honestly rooting so much for the Japanese because I kind of thought that it was going to be one of those movies where, Godzilla just completely dismantles of everything and then they have to deal with it throughout more, and then we'll probably get a sequel that way. Long story short, Godzilla does end up dying, but again, going back to that regeneration part of the movie, that was a pretty interesting way of sequel baiting. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff concerning the characters that I'm not really going to talk about because I do want to leave some stuff for other people to watch. But honestly, from beginning to end, it had me on the edge of my seat. I had multiple chills go down my spine throughout most of the movie because it was honestly that good of a film. Like, there's no other way I can describe it. So they did extend the theater period for Godzilla minus one because it was supposed to end on December 7th, and that was the last day that Godzilla minus one, and I was able to catch it on December 7th. But then I look at my phone, and it's until December 14th. So I was on edge before I saw the movie because I was afraid I was gonna miss it. But honestly, if you're watching this right now and you're kind of skeptical about Godzilla minus one, or you're just gonna wait until it comes out on DVD, watching it in the theater is the best way to enjoy this movie. 100 fucking %. Even if my ears did kind of get almost blown out from all the chaos from the movie. So, just to reiterate, Godzilla minus one, an absolute 10 out of 10 or 13 out of 10 of a movie, and I did and I did see what Legendary is cooking up with Monarch Legacy of the Monsters, and I did make a reaction video to Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire, and just comparing Godzilla minus one to fucking Barbenheimer Godzilla. I'm sorry, but Toho is winning this Godzilla war. I mean, I did say in my last video that I did want Legendary to innovate Godzilla in any sort of meticulous way, and they sort of did, but Toho gave us an a brand new Godzilla. They didn't build upon Shin Godzilla or any of the past. Like these guys at Toho are on a case, or they gotta be smoking something for taking this nearly 100-year-old franchise and continue to innovate. New Godzilla, new fear, new people shitting themselves every single freaking time. And right now, like I said, Toho is winning when it comes to the best Godzillas. So, I mean, we've only ever had just the trailer for Godzilla X Kong to bank on. So I am kind of curious to see what Godzilla's going to do this time around when it comes to Legendary Studios. And I'm sorry if I am kind of biased, just because of course, I love Toho, and I absolutely love all things Japan, and Americans are, and America is kind of a shithole right now. But that's besides the point. Legendary has been doing really, really good with amping up Godzilla with the new trailer. Sorry, with the new trailer, and honestly, from what I've seen, I am actually kind of curious of what they could do with Godzilla this time around, instead of turning him into the literal personification of Barbenheimer. But alas, I'm just gonna hold my thoughts until I finally see Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire appear in theaters, and I guess I'll make a review video on that. So thank you guys so much for watching this. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. Please give me your thoughts. If you've seen the movie, give me your thoughts in the comments down below. And I guess I'll see you on the next one. So, like I always say, keep the blood boiling and the heart pumping. My name is Red Levis, and I'll see you all next time. What the